if you're going to function as money, you want to be a single-celled organism. The simple, like the algae of the ecosystem. The base layer of the ecosystem is plankton or bacteria or single cells. You don't want to be a vertebrate. And these companies are vertebrates with a brain and a backbone. And that means, for example, WeChat or TikTok, it has a headquarters. And if it's in the wrong country, it gets its head chopped off.
Right.
You know? And, Apple and Facebook, they're subject to a certain court, a certain country's jurisdiction. So that means they're foreigners somewhere else. They're vertebrates. If you're a vertebrate, I can kill you with a needle, right? Like a human being, I can figure out how to kill, right? There's a heart, I take a needle, I poke there, you're gone. It's very fragile. Hard to do that with a swarm of hornets. Hard to do that with all the plankton in the ocean. Hard to, it's very difficult to do it with an amorphous, decentralized invertebrate of some sort. So if you want to store a value, you don't want a company that's valued based upon the ability to engineer hyper complicated products that have to keep getting upgraded. You want something which is simple, that can just keep being simple. This is again where some of the crypto enthusiasts, they keep wanting to tinker with a better blockchain, a better crypto, they never saw an upgrade they didn't like, so they just want to keep revving it every year. This is like it's the iPhone version 37.
Right.
There's a fundamental difference, which is if there's a bug in iPhone version 37, everybody in the world's heart doesn't stop.
Right. I think this analogy you're using with the simplicity of plankton, right, being the base layer for the ecosystem is apt. Because, and I want to say plankton makes up the majority of the biomass on the planet by like a pretty substantial margin, because it's so simple and it's so efficient at converting solar energy into biological energy, right? And then it is the base layer for this multiplicity of layered ecosystem that we have in the world. And another thing I think is interesting is you make a great point that equities are becoming more risky as they increase in price because they're delaminating from their valuation fundamentals, as you said. And Bitcoin's the opposite, right? Actually, the more valuable Bitcoin is, the more secure its network, the greater the liquidity, the more resistant it is to attack. So it's a very interesting counter trade to equities as a store of value.
And of course, if you have an individual entity with an individual headquarters and a CEO, as it gets bigger, it becomes a bigger target.
Mm-hmm.
Right, maybe everybody in your home country loves you, but what about everybody in every other country?
Right.
So you don't want a head, and you don't want to be a target, and you don't want to be valued based on cash flows if you're going to be money. They're the right creature to be building a device or maybe creating an exchange or creating an application, because I want the software to run 1 billion times faster. Mm-hmm. And so it's okay to have one company write software. But the question is, I want it to run 1 billion times faster, but do I need it to last for 1,000 years? And the answer is, I can throw my phone away and Western civilization will not end if I lose my phone or if you screw up my phone, right? It will not end. If I put all the energy in Western civilization, or that's prejudicial, if I put all the energy into civilization or of civilization into a network, a crypto network, I can't afford for someone to ship a buggy release. So, and again, what people forget is if I put $1 billion into Bitcoin on January 1st, 2021, and I don't touch it for 100 years, the thing is working. It's, truly insanely great technology is okay, we're back to Nicholas Taleb is haunting our thoughts. Via Negativa, right?
Ah, yes.
Add by taking away.
Right.
Insanely great technology is when it does a thing without you doing a thing.
Right.
But, a junior technologist, they create gadgets. I have an app. I have a mobile application. It has 150 features and 150 buttons, and if you click, and there's a billion different things it can do depending upon the combination of the buttons and the features you click on. Okay, that's one thing. How about another mobile app? You download the mobile app, and everywhere you walk on Earth, it kills all your enemies and gives you infinite food and water and protection and plays whatever music you wanted to hear around you without you touching it. Hands free, right? You know, if I walk around and someone walks behind me and they do everything I want, you know, before I ask them to do it without me opening my mouth, isn't that a heck of a lot better than a gadgety thing with features?
Yeah, it's higher utility, right?
You know,
And
it's Saint Exupery. The design's not done. It's not a perfect design until there's nothing left to remove. And so if I
right,
told you, take all your money, put it into Bitcoin, and then you'll be rich and happy and prosperous for all of eternity without doing a single transaction. That's a lot better idea.
right. That's a great point.
I
I
don't
think,
need more features and more gadgety things. I just need it to always work.
right, right. And
And that
just to,
always work is vapor around me.
you're right. Absolutely. Just to give the listeners a little bit of context on Via Negativa, for those who haven't read Taleb, his canonical example is in his book, The Black Swan, where you can see as many white swans as you want, but you can never prove by virtue of that evidence that all swans are white. But with a single sighting of a black swan, you have disproven that all swans are white. So the moral of the story is that disconfirmation is more rigorous than confirmation, right? And I think that's getting to your point here, is that it's getting stronger by taking away, right? Your factual base on which you're building your premise and strategy in the world is strengthened by disconfirmation more so than it is confirmation.